Welcome to American Catechism by Stab the Dragon Productions for a whiskey holiday, episode number 30-ish. I don't know, 31. Who knows? I can't count. Coming to you from Fort Worth on November 9th, 2025, where it is finally fall weather at 59 degrees. Now, what holiday am I celebrating? Tomorrow is the celebration of the United States Marine Corps' 250th birthday. Although the ball was last night, or depending on your location, sometime last week. But the one last night was where Vice President Vance spoke. So, of course, we're going to celebrate with the Marines, even though I'm a soldier. I was in the Army. Now, Tuesday, coming up, November 11th, that's Veterans Day. And, it used to be Armistice Day, celebrating the end of World War I, but now it celebrates all those who've served in the American military, all those who raised their right hand and swore the oath to defend America and the Constitution. Tonight, though, I'll talk a little bit about the United States Marine Corps, and then we'll focus on the whiskey that I've chosen for this event. So, the United States Marine Corps was founded on November 10th, 1775 by the Continental Congress. They were to raise 2 battalions of Marine infantry to fight on land or sea. Samuel Nicholas was the first commandant of the Marines. Their first amphibious landing was at Nassau, Bahamas in March of 1776. They occupied the British seaport there. Who knew? We invaded the Bahamas in the Revolutionary War. Go Marines. In January of 1777, they were attached to the Continental Army at the Battle of Princeton. At the end of the American Revolution, though, the Marines were disbanded along with everything else in 1783. But they were brought back in 1797 to serve on the brand new U.S. Navy frigates during the quasi-war with France. That's right. Even though we were allies with France in the Revolutionary War, there was kind of a quasi-war with France afterwards. And then the war with the Barbary pirates, Muslims, 1801 to 1805. And it was during the war with the Barbary pirate Muslims that we get the line in the Marine Corps hymn, "To the shores of Tripoli." And then it was during the war with Mexico, 1846 to 48, that we get the line, "From the halls of Montezuma." However, it was in World War I, in the Battle of Belleau Wood in France, that we get our modern-day Marine Corps, because the Marines had been stationed on scores of ships and small outposts, embassies all around the world. But they didn't really have any full-sized combat units. That wasn't the mission of the Marines at that time. But to round out the 2nd Division of the U.S. Army, the Marines outfitted a brigade, pulled in Marines from ship duty and embassy duty all over the world, and their first big battle was at Belleau Wood. And it was there that the Germans named the Marines Devil Dogs. And it was there that the Marines earned their reputation as a superior fighting unit with superior marksmanship. The Marines fought their way across the South Pacific in World War II, and many famous battles, Guadalcanal, Iwo Jima, Tarawa, and their famous battle at Chosin Reservoir in the Korean War, where they were surrounded by the far larger Chinese army, and they considered it a good thing because they could attack in any direction and kill Chinese. The Marines were utilized extensively in the Vietnam War, but most notably in Hue City in the Tet Offensive in 1968. And me as a soldier, I actually served, another platoon leader and I, he was a enlisted Marine in the Vietnam War. He was the oldest 2nd lieutenant in the U.S. Army. And he had fought in the city of Hue in that famous battle. The Marines have fought in the Middle East wars of the past 30-plus years. Famous astronaut John Glenn, and senator, was a Marine aviator from World War II and the Korean War, and his wingman in Korea was the famous baseball player Ted Williams. Wow. And of course, today our Vice President, J.D. Vance, is a Marine, and he is the first Marine to serve in the executive office of Vice President in our nation's history. So, cheers to the United States Marine Corps, and happy birthday. Now, on to the whiskey. Just the facts. This is Old Pali Road whiskey from Ko'ula Distillery, Oahu, Hawaii. Now this is not a bourbon, it is a whiskey, coming in at 43% ABV, aged for at least 1 year. $60 at the distillery, but shipping from Hawaii to Texas was a whopping $30, so woof. Tasting notes. Corn sweetness, so maybe some corn on the cob or movie popcorn with butter. A little bit of spiciness too, that's very good. So really very pleasant taste. I give this whiskey a score of 83, a letter grade for drinkability, a B+. If you are in Hawaii, either stationed there or traveling there, I strongly recommend visiting this distillery on Oahu or buying a bottle while you're there in Hawaii, or if you're in a restaurant, see if they are serving it. You can go to their website and they'll actually list some places that serve their whiskey. If you're a Marine and have the $90, I recommend buying this bottle of whiskey. It's unique. It's a very good whiskey. Again, it's not a bourbon, so it doesn't have the depth of flavor, character, and the harshness of a bourbon. This is a sweet, gentle whiskey made from Hawaiian volcanic spring water. There you go. Let's get into the details. History. This whiskey brand was founded in 2018 by two United States Marine Corps veterans, Lieutenant Colonel Ian Brooks and Lieutenant Colonel Eric Dill. This distillery is a disabled American veteran business. Eric Dill is friends with Travis Barnes of Hotel Tango Distillery in Indianapolis, whose rye whiskey and bourbon I've reviewed previously. And he learned to distill at Hotel Tango. Travis Barnes is medically retired Marine recon, and their whiskey is pretty good. I recommend that one as well if you're in Indiana. Actually, they sell that whiskey here in Texas. Ian Brooks was a retired infantry officer, and a couple of other staff members there at the distillery are retired Navy chiefs. So really, this is a all-around veteran business for sure. So that's one thing that I do when I research whiskeys is I look for veteran-owned distilleries. And so I've got several whiskeys from veteran-owned distilleries. So 5 out of 5 for history. Bottle, label, and marketing. The bottle is a standard issue, short, squatty, round thing that it's common in the industry. Nothing spectacular about the bottle. It does have a real wood cork. There you go. And I think this top is wood. So it's got a real cork and wood topper. So that's good. The label is very attractive. I like this label. I don't think it's a photograph. It may be a drawing or something, and I guess it's Old Pali Road with the antique car on it. But really, that's a very nice, attractive label. And on the back, this is what the label says. Ko'ulau Distillery. According to Hawaiian legend, the gods reside in the ever-present mist where the peaks of the Ko'ulau Mountains meet the heavens. Tropical rainfall from the mist is filtered for generations through volcanic rock to become the pure artesian water we source to create our legendary whiskey. Old Pali Road is a union of our locally distilled whiskey and a high-quality aged American whiskey, hand-blended to the perfect proof with pure Hawaiian water. We hope you enjoy this handcrafted spirit as much as we love making it. And then there's a cool label down here that says Made in Hawaii with Aloha. And look at that right there. I don't know if you can read that, but it's there. Okay, and marketing. I did research looking for a Marine-owned distillery, and of course Hotel Tango shows up, but then this one shows up, and it's like, oh, okay, here you go, because I wanted for the Marine Corps birthday, I wanted a whiskey somehow related to the Marines, and this was perfect. And so they really have a nice website as well, so you can order whiskey from them on their website. Of course, it goes through a third party and all that stuff, legal hoo-ha. But there's also some links to some local news stories in Hawaii about this distillery. And of course, they were hit hard by COVID, but really, these guys have done amazing since 2018. So bottle, label, and marketing, 4 out of 5 points. Appearance of this whiskey in the bottle, you can see it's a little bit cloudy. It's not a real clear whiskey, so that, I'm assuming it's not filtered. And then in the glass here, it's actually a little bit darker than I had initially thought. Initially, I gave this a score of a 2, but the appearance, I think, was darker than that, and so I raised that to a 3. So appearance of the whiskey is a 3 out of 5. In composition, here on the label, it says batch 26 right there. And they actually provide the mash bill for this. It's 90% corn and 10% two-row malted barley. So the clarity there is pretty good. And this is a blend. They also say this is a blend. They have the original Ko'olau distillate and an unnamed aged American whiskey. And then this is cut with Hawaiian water filtered through the volcanic rocks of Ko'olau Mountains, coming from an artesian well. So this weighs in at 86 proof. So for composition, 12 out of 15. Nose. Let's get to the whiskey itself. Now it's a mild nose, but I do get like corn on the cob, buttered corn on the cob. It's sweet. Buttered popcorn even. Movie theater popcorn. So it's a very pleasant nose. So that's 8 out of 10 for the nose. Yeah, that's nice. Taste. Cheers to the Marines. And the taste is true to the nose. You get the corn sweetness, fresh corn on the cob, buttered, maybe with some pepper on there. Movie theater buttered popcorn, definitely. Some gentle spices. It's a little bit peppery, which is nice. This is a very pleasant, good sipper. 20 out of 25 for taste. It's got a decent mouthfeel. It's not thin. You do get a hint of a burn. It's a low-level burn, but it's more than a tingle. Touches the back of the palate, but it doesn't go up in the sinuses, nor does it go down the throat. It'll hit your tongue, sides of your mouth, and the back of the palate. But there's no real harshness in here because, again, it's a whiskey, not a bourbon. Bourbon's inherently harsh. Even smooth bourbons have a harsh line going through it. The finish, though, is not real long. The tingles linger a little bit. Popcorn sweetness for a little bit. So you got kind of a medium to short finish. 12 out of 15 for mouthfeel, burn, and finish. Neat or mixer. This is absolutely perfect for sipping neat. I really do like it. I was unsure about using it in a cocktail because it is so mild. But I did try a cocktail. I've got it here with me. The other night I made it, and I made it almost the same way. This time only a couple of changes. So what this is, I use pineapple juice, the whiskey. The ice is coconut water ice. In other words, I put coconut water in the freezer, froze it, and that's the ice in here. I added some banana slices, but tonight the difference is I added some sliced pineapple. So I don't know if you can see all that in there. There's banana. You can see that sliced pineapple down there at the bottom and banana floating on top. And this is actually pretty darn good. I can't really taste the whiskey though. That's the problem with using something sweet and gentle, is that it's easily lost. But this is still delicious. My wife can taste the whiskey a little bit. She tried this, she liked it, and she can, feel the burn of the whiskey a little bit and taste it. But I'm so used to bourbons and harsh scotches that I can't really taste it. I'm sure it would hold up a little bit to ice if you're used to gentler whiskeys. So for neat or mixer, 5 out of 5 points. I don't know what to call this cocktail. I don't know. Pina colada Hawaiian whiskey. I don't know. But it works. I guess it resembles Hawaii because you got bananas and pineapples in there in a Hawaiian whiskey. So, neat or mixer, 5 out of 5. Price, value, and availability. On the website, the price was $59.99 for the 750 milliliter bottle. But you got to add on the $30 shipping to get it from Hawaii to Texas, right? FedEx Air. So this ends up being a $90 whiskey. Now, for the whiskey alone, is it worth it? No. But this is more than a drink to me. I don't buy whiskeys just to drink. I look for the story behind them. I latch on to the terroir. I latch on to the history behind it and what it represents. So, yeah, I got this for a couple of reasons. I shopped around for a while to get a whiskey related to the Marines, as I said earlier. And the owners and founders of this distillery are 2 retired lieutenant colonels. So, hooah. Secondly, I would love to have a whiskey from each of the 50 states. I don't think that's going to happen. But now I do have a Hawaiian whiskey. And this water was filtered through volcanic rock. And that adds to the terroir of the whiskey. So, absolutely. To me, it was worth it. Now, for most folks, maybe not. This is an expensive craft whiskeys. And when you buy craft whiskeys, you're paying more than what you could get a good whiskey from Kentucky for. The big boys have economy of scale and can sell good whiskey for cheap. I choose to support the craft whiskey movement, and I'm seldom disappointed. I mean, craft whiskeys really do have a qualitative edge, I think, to the big boys in Kentucky. And so, again, this is very expensive, but if you're going to Hawaii, I would urge you to go to the distillery, buy a bottle, go to a restaurant, and order a drink from this. So price, value, and availability was fine for me, even though it was like kind of a hassle to order online, and then FedEx has got to deliver it, and you got to be here and sign for it and all that. So 9 out of 10 for price, value, and availability. Bonus, 5 points, because hoorah. I love that this is a Marine Corps veteran-owned business, and this was the first whiskey distillery in Oahu, and it's got Hawaiian volcanic water going on here. So my total score was 83. Letter grade for drinkability, a B+. Analysis and recommendation. Again, I paid $90 for this whiskey for my specialized purposes. I wanted a Marine Corps related whiskey, and so this is what this is. So it fulfills, kind of a plan that I've got. But again, it's not a bourbon. It's a whiskey, and it's a blended whiskey at that. So it lacks the harshness and the depth of character of a bourbon, maybe. And the distillery does have a bourbon, okay, but that was cost prohibitive for me. They have gin, they have an aged gin, they've got a vodka along with a moonshine. So if you go there, you're going to have your choice of a lot of stuff. And so if you're in Oahu, I would strongly recommend that you visit their distillery or at least buy their product. And if you're a Marine and you got $90 to spare, I would say order it, buy a bottle, share it with your friends. All right, next up, Veterans Day is on Tuesday, but I'll probably talk about it tomorrow if I get to do a video tomorrow. And it's also the birthday for the state of Washington, where my wife and I lived when we were newlyweds back in the early 80s. I was in the Army at Fort Lewis. Our firstborn son was born there. So we're going to celebrate Veterans Day a little bit and then Washington State a little bit. And we will look at Woodinville straight bourbon, I hope. And also, we're going to be looking at, I'm going to do a video, I don't know if it'll be tomorrow or Tuesday, sometime, on this movie, a movie review for the Marines, Flying Leathernecks, starring John Wayne. Because this movie talks about the Battle of Guadalcanal. And the movie is based on a true story, so that always gives me a plus, you know, for the history factor there. So those videos are coming up. For now, though, this is American Catechism out here.